Well, hello, fellow Dokkan Battle players. Today, we're going over how to create the perfect hero team. Now, at the end of this video, I'll go over other supplemental units as well if you weren't so lucky, but we'll do on a case-by-case basis how to make the best heroes team in all of Dokkan Battle. Let's get to it.
And this is to watch Cheeto see.
Alrighty guys, so let's get started here. And the one thing that makes this hero team a little bit different from any of the mono teams I covered in the past is that the heroes team has some different leading options you have. The first main option is going to be the Super Saiyan Blue Vegito versus the Intelligent Trunks that just came out. So with the Super Saiyan Blue Vegito, you get Ki plus 3 and HP attack and defense plus 50%, where the Trunks will only give you Ki plus 1 and HP attack and defense plus 70%. So of course you're sacrificing Ki for a little bit added stat buff if you go the route for Trunks. Now, if you're talking about cards on their own, that obviously goes to hands down Blue Vegito. He's one of the top cards in the game, and Trunks is gonna have a hard time even cracking the top 10 at this point. So I think he's more than underwhelming. But Blue Vegito, of course, you get the damage reduced for 30% on your normal attacks. Then you counter, and you're gonna do a ton of damage on the counter. Now 30% does help, but that's not a giant reduction. It's not game breaking whatsoever. You'll feel a little bit less. You're still gonna take a pretty big hit, but nevertheless a damage reduction, which is nice. And then you have, of course, a good high chance of doing 2 additional attacks, and a solid chance of those, at least one being a super attack. But of course, it's all RNG there. I'd say it's about 75% of the time you'll get 2 attacks, and one of them will be a super attack, and maybe, well, of course, the 25% of the time you'll get either 2 super attacks or you don't do one at all, and you also still have some chance to not do an attack at all. So Blue Vegito is probably the most RNG based cards in the whole game. You get super lucky and you get 3 super attacks, and he's possibly the strongest card in the entire game, but of course you have to get lucky for that. And the other thing that Blue Vegito has going for him is his links. He has probably the best sets of links in the whole game. He has Over in a Flash, which is the best link, the plus 3 key link. Prepared for Battle, a very, very common plus 2 key link for very good strong cards. Fuse Fighter, another plus 2 key link, which is very good for the Heroes team, a lot of fusions in it. And of course, Fierce Battle, another 15% damage increase there. Now looking into the Trunks, he'll do immense damage, and he'll greatly lower defense. Is the only thing he really has on Blue Vegito, is he does greatly lower defense, which is nice and really helps the team a whole lot. And he's a nuker, which is nice. He can end up being maybe a little more consistent hitter. He'll change Strength Orbs to Intelligent Orbs, and attack plus 15% per int orb absorbed. He gets Prepared for Battle for his only really good link. Of course, he has Super Saiyan, Godly Warrior, and Fierce Battle to boot as well, but of course no Over in a Flash, no Fuse Fighter. So his links are definitely going to be a lot less than Blue Vegito, and Blue Vegito blows his overall stats out of the water with an additional about 5,000 health, a good chunk more attack, and defense is the only thing that the Trunks has higher than the Blue Vegito. So the way we'll break this up is we'll have a Blue Vegito friend and a Blue Vegito leader. You'll have a Trunks friend, Blue Vegito leader, and then you have 2 Trunkses, friend and a leader to boot. And I'll go over all 3 sets of teams very, very in-depthly, but let's break down what units you'll need for every single team. The best secondary unit in all of Hero Team, debatably still the best card in Dokkan. I think he's slid down just a tad bit, but still easy top 5. Super Vegito still holding it as the best tank in the whole game. Let's just talk super attacks. He does immense damage, and allies attack plus 30% for the 1 turn after you do that super attack. So if they're always attacking first turn is where you want to put him. His passive, he of course reduces damage by 80% on normal attacks, and counters with a tremendous damage. So you already have 2 counters units in the game. Super Vegito is of course a little better blocker than Blue Vegito. So if you can get him going first or second all the time, that's where you want him. Of course, you want him to come back every other turn. And the attack with 30% for the turn will increase the damage of your whole team even more. And when that even, that's disgusting when you already have a very, very strong team to boot. And his links link very well with Blue Vegito, his best buddy, which is actually himself. He has Prepared for Battle and Fuse Fighter, which is a plus 4 key links for both of those if they're both together, but they're plus 2 individually. Shocking Speed and another Fuse Battle unit. And now these next couple are about even, but Super Vegito is the only one in the tier, just quite a little bit above those. But God Tanks, very, very good. Of course, he has 3 different super attacks. Super Ghost Kamikaze is the 9 through 10 key link. The best thing about God Tanks is also kind of a curse, is that you want the 11 key super, which is charging blue volleyball attack, which does immense damage and greatly raises attack for the 1 turn. The Ghost Kamikaze does immense damage, and the Super Ghost Kamikaze attack does extreme damage, but does greatly lower defense. So if you run him and Trunks, then you would have 2 wall breakers on the team. And his passive is 120% when doing the super. Now his links are good as far as helping other units, but you don't really want Gotenks to have key, because like I said, you want him to have the 11 key super almost every single time. But he does have Overnight Flash and Fuse Fighter, which does make that hard at times, but you can get that settled. Another unit that you'll always have is Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Goku. Possibly the hardest hitter on the team consistently, and he's also kind of a wall. He does immense damage to the enemy while sacrificing a measly 5% HP. You won't even see the difference. His passive is a plus, is that 20,000, and in the defense plus 10,000 for the first 10 turns. Very rarely will you have a plus more than 10 turn battle, so you almost constantly have that passive. Maybe on the last turn you might not have him. You can always balance that out by having him in the 3rd slot, and you have no chance at all of losing it. And his links are another tremendous link. Another Overnight Flash user, Shocking Speed. He has another Fierce Battle user and Prepared for Battle. So this guy links tremendously well with all the other cards already. And another unit that you always want, he's dropped in value a little bit, but Gogeta is still definitely an amazing card in Dokkan Battle. He does immense damage to the enemy, and his passive is attack plus 7,000, and attacks effective against all types. So he's always going to be doing consistent damage. He's the best consistent hitter in the game still. When you can't block him, he's just so hard to beat, and his links are incredible. Prepared for Battle, Overnight Flash, and Fuse Fighter, so he links tremendously well. It's a plus 7 key each way to him and Blue Vegito. And of course another Fierce Battle unit. So those are the main factors that won't be changed in any of these teams, but there'll be a few differences from each team. So let's start with Blue Vegito Friend and a Blue Vegito Leader. Alright, so with the Blue Vegito Leader and the Blue Vegito Friend, it's almost already filled out for you. You have Super Vegito for your second or your main blocker, you have Blue Kaioken and God Tanks for your supporting attacking units, and Super Gogeta for your utility attacking units. So for this, you only have 1 slot remaining. Who do you really want to fill it with? Well, I think it really comes down to who do you want. Do you want to make sure you get your counter set up, because all your triple Vegito squad need their counters. If you get super, you don't get countered. So I think the obvious choice right here is Fizz Gotenks. He gets Fuse Fighter, so he helps out God Tank, doesn't give him too much key there, and he links everybody here is a fusion except for Blue Kaioken, and it links very well. And so the big part about this team is you'll have absolutely no problem at all with key management. You'll have super rare situations when you will have no supers going off. Super Vegito is the worst link here, and worst case scenario is he is linked up with Kaioken Blue Goku on one side and Super and Saiyan Gotenks on the other side, and he still gets a Fuse Fighter, a +2 key link, and a Prepared for Battle, another +2 key link from Blue Kaioken. So that's +4. and he's going to be set up very nicely. So, talk about the Super Saiyan Gotenks. He is one of the nicest cards in the game. As far as sealers, he has his prepared for battle and fuse fighters. So Super Vegito would have another prepared battle from Gotenks as well. So you'd be getting +6. So there's no question you'll be getting your supers off. He does supreme damage and seal supers. Attack was 77% when he does do his super attack. So that's what makes him better than Super Saiyan Bardock, who's another nice sealer, who for the longest time I liked Bardock better, but with 70% more damage power, you're going to get a card that can seal and provide nice supporting pop to fill in the extra slot on the bench. So there we have it. There's the Blue Vegito and Blue Vegito team. So many counters. This is going to be your main team for if you want to do counters, and easy for getting your key across, but you'll be lacking a little bit in the health and overall stats department. So let's go to a Blue Vegito leader or an intelligent Trunks friend, or vice versa. Alrighty, so with the Super Saiyan Rage Trunks leader and the Blue Vegito friend, you have some options here. Of course, it's all set up to the question marks. And this really comes down to, again, you just want to make sure your seals are set up, so then you have Fizz Gotenks, or you can go with your own Fizz Vegito. This really comes up to your choice. This could really be going down to what card you have. If you have the Rage Trunks and want to make him your leader and go after a Blue Vegito friend, and you want your own, and you don't have your own Blue Vegito, then just go Super Saiyan Gotenks here for the same reason stated earlier, to make sure you get your counters off. Or if you just really want the more power, you can just plug in your Blue Vegito in the last slot as well and take the Rage Trunks. This is going to be the most powerful team in Dokkan, and you will get a little more damage. The Fizz Gotenks is the weakest link as far as doing power, and you don't really need any extra coverage now. Well, a nice thing about running this team instead of the Blue Vegito team is you get the extra stat boost from your Trunks. You get an additional 20% attack, HP, and defense, and you get a little nuker type, and you get an intelligent type on your team, so you get a types coverage all across the board. You don't have to worry about doubling or tripling up in Fizz type, but you do lack a little bit of the key, only gain 1 key. But with, like I said, all the links, you start with 4 key with the with the Blue Vegito and the Trunks. Then they link up so well. Almost all your cards every time are gonna get 3 to 5 key every single time, sometimes more. And this even helps your God Tank not make sure he gets his 11 key supers off. It makes that a lot easier with 2 key less from the bat. So that's what's nice with this team. Now let's look at the double Super Saiyan Rage Trunk lead. Alright, so double Super Saiyan Rage Trunks, this is going to be a little bit different. You have Super Vegito, of course, Blue Vegito, Ken, Super Saiyan 3 God Tanks, but if you notice, there's no Super Gogeta. There's 2 spots open for your 2 own cards here. So this is very tricky. The whole reason this team works is because of links. Usually they wouldn't like the key, but just getting 2 key total from your leader and friends isn't too bad with all these great links going across the board. And since you'll have Intel covered up, I think this is how you do it. If you have Blue Vegito, he goes in your second to last slot, and for your last slot, I would use Super Saiyan Bardock, because his passive gives 2 key. When you're over 50% health, you'll get 2 key. You can maintain that health because you'll have an extra additional 20% health over the last team of here, and you have a very, very good time maintaining your key. If you have Bardock, he has another prepared for battle. You'll have the +2 key from his passive, so it's almost constantly +4 key to all your other units, and that's how you can make a Super Saiyan Rage Trunks work. So which of these 3 teams is the absolute best? Well, let's cover it. So number 3, we're going to start off with the double Blue Vegito lead. Now the reason this is in the last place is because even though Blue Vegito is the better unit overall from the Rage Trunks, It's almost an overkill with the key, so getting the extra stats is beneficial. But if you do go on the side of getting the extra key, I do not blame you whatsoever. And number 2 is going to be the double Rage Trunks lead. Because this team links so well together, a key can be managed very well. If you use it, you might have to use a few fruits of the Tree of Might to get you over that edge for those supers. But nevertheless, you should be able to get your supers off very easily. So number 1 being the Blue Vegito and a Rage Trunks lead gives you the best of both worlds. You get a nice little stat buff, and you'll almost never have to worry about your key. So that's how we do these teams. Now stay tuned for the other cards that could fit in your team if you don't have all the God cards. Okay, so for number 1, we have the Super Saiyan 3 Strength Vegeta. He's the best substitute for if you need another wall. I think if you don't have Super Vegito, he's the best substitute for that. The only downside, which is also a plus, is he does stun. He does have the turn-based passive. Although, other than that, if you have short fights, he's absolutely the best wall in the whole game, especially if you want to run in the World Tournament or whatever like that. Number 2, we'll have the Super Saiyan Trunks card because he adds a 30% buff to your attack for the next 6 turns, which is absolutely incredible, and it hits very, very hard against one enemy as well. Now, number 3, this is in all in descending order, we'll have the Int LR Piccolo. He is the best wall. If you need another wall, he adds defense for your other cards as well, so it's super nice about him. And another in card that would be feeling nice would be the Ultimate Gohan. The best thing about him, if you do the double Int and double Rage Trunks leads, he doesn't need key at that point. He gets plus 5 key and 5,000 attack when he's going after 7 keys. So you just get him a few key and he's all set up. And next we have the OG Dokkan Super Saiyan Blue Goku. This guy is obviously a substitute for the Blue Kaioken. He is lacking over in a flash, but he still has prepared for battle. And he gets a nice attack buff. The biggest thing here is he doesn't have the defense buff, but he will hit almost just as hard as Blue Kaioken. So if you have him, don't go too hard for Blue Kaioken. And lastly, to finish this off, we do have the Tech Vegito. This is a lot like the Tech Super Trunks. If you don't have Trunks Super Vegito, he's kind of a third string option at this point, but he does add an additional defense buff, 30% for the turn, but it's passive, and unlike you have Trunks that does it for 6 turns, he only does that for the single turn, but nevertheless, it's a solid card for the team. And anyways, that ends this video. So if you have any other cards that would fit very nicely in the team, comment them down below. Of course, there's other cards that would be alright, but these are the most ideal ones. Otherwise, we'll see you guys in the next JDoZ video, and comment what team you want me to do next.